Bueno, muchas gracias, Juan Carlos. No queríamos faltar. Mariano Jabonero, el secretario general, me pidió, él no podía estar, me pidió expresamente que participara, aunque sea unos minutos, para volver a ratificar el compromiso que tenemos nosotros con el programa de GeoGebra. No hace falta que les diga a ustedes el compromiso que ha tenido la OEI en todos estos años, con cada uno de estos festejos del Día de GeoGebra. Este es un programa que además adquiere cierta trascendencia, sin duda, en la pandemia en que estamos viviendo, libre, abierto, que va creciendo permanentemente y que permite ir en la dirección que nos parece a nosotros que debe ir la educación, que es la de construir conocimiento con los jóvenes y ayudarlos a que enfrenten problemáticas cada vez que no solamente tienen que ver con la matemática, sino con la física y con la biología, y programas como GeoGebra sin duda ayudan en este sentido. Entonces, bueno, simplemente volver a ratificarles nuestro compromiso desde la OEI y decirles que para nosotros estas jornadas que año a año se vienen repitiendo y la cual somos partícipes, este año de esta manera virtual, ya volverá a la presencialidad, pero lo importante es que se sigue fortaleciendo un programa y sigue creciendo el programa de GeoGebra. Así que muchas gracias por estos pequeños minutos. Yo les decía que estoy un tanto entre un Zoom y otro Zoom, pero no queríamos de ninguna manera faltar un día como hoy para este programa.
Hello.
Hello, Julia. Bueno, muchas gracias, Andrés. Como la anterior edición del Día GeoGebra tuvimos la suerte de hacerla presencial gracias al trabajo de Sandra Rodríguez en Uruguay y gracias también, evidentemente, al apoyo de la OEI y en este caso en este país, pues Fabián, como responsable del Instituto GeoGebra de Uruguay, hemos querido que estuviera en esta inauguración para pasar el testigo de la edición anterior a esta nueva edición que hacemos de forma virtual. Entonces, Fabián, cuando quieras.
Muchas gracias por la invitación a acompañar en este momento. Sin duda, este tipo de instancias que en esta complicación en la que en el mundo estamos viviendo, aún así estamos sacando adelante, remarcan una vez más lo relevante que es para la comunidad educativa de matemática de Iberoamérica el uso de GeoGebra. Vale la pena seguir, vale la pena conectarse de esta manera y sigue valiendo la pena el encuentro y el compartir experiencias. El año pasado recibimos aquí en Montevideo a un montón de educadores que también manifestamos esto, y hoy es un gusto para mí decir que, bueno, ojalá el impulso que las distintas comunidades vamos haciendo vaya sirviendo también para que otros se animen, para que se renueve el entusiasmo, porque en definitiva toda esta etapa de formación, todo este impulso que la OEI viene haciendo, todo lo que GeoGebra nos brinda, termina redundando en una mejor educación para nuestros jóvenes, que entiendo yo es lo más importante y es la razón de ser de lo que hacemos. Así que es un gusto entregarle el testigo a quienes continúan este tipo de experiencias con muchísimo gusto, y aquí desde Uruguay los saludo a todos.
Muy bien, muchas gracias, Fabián. En realidad, la siguiente que tendría que hablar ahora sería Laura del Río, porque la edición de este año, la octava edición del Día GeoGebra Iberoamericano, estaba pensada o estaba planificado que fuera en La Plata. Pero como debido a la situación que todos ya sabemos y que está afectando a todos los ámbitos de nuestra vida, pues la edición se aplazará, la de La Plata se aplazará al año próximo, que esperemos que las condiciones ya sean favorables. Mientras tanto, para no perder un año desde que se inició este Día GeoGebra Iberoamericano, pues el planteamiento es, como decía Andrés, de Zoom en Zoom, y así lo haremos, ¿no? Lo estamos haciendo de forma virtual, y por eso ahora, como Juan Carlos es el responsable de técnico y ha sido responsable también o culpable de muchas de las cosas que se han venido haciendo a través de la OEI en Iberoamérica con GeoGebra, pues también me gustaría que continuara en este turno de intervenciones con alguna palabra.
Muchas gracias, Agustín. Muchas gracias, Andrés, a todos los panelistas que estáis y a los espectadores. Ya son 63, más los que están por Facebook, que supongo que serán también bastantes. Y quería decir que yo, de los 8 días GeoGebra, solo he estado en 2. El que fue en Madrid en el medio del 7º FISEM, donde tuve el honor de ser el antecesor de las palabras que luego pronunció Markus, donde nos presentó el nuevo GeoGebra móvil, que es la novedad que presentó en Madrid en aquel entonces, también con la ayuda de Tomás. Y aunque los he seguido siempre a través de las crónicas que me iba dando Agustín, que ha estado con la camiseta de la OI en todas las ediciones, y no quiero extenderme mucho más que daros las gracias a todos los que colaboráis desinteresadamente en que esto sea una realidad. Muchísimas gracias a todos.
Bueno, pues gracias de nuevo a la OI, en este caso también a la Federación Española de Sociedades de Profesores de Matemática y a la Federación Iberoamericana de Sociedades de Educación Matemática, que han hecho posible que se mantenga esta edición virtual durante este año tan complicado como es 2020. Mantenemos el Día GeoGebra y quizás a final de las sesiones del Día GeoGebra, el jueves, podamos anunciar alguna novedad con el Club GeoGebra Iberoamericano, que también casi llevaba un desarrollo paralelo al Día GeoGebra. Mientras tanto, yo por mi parte agradecer a todos los asistentes su participación en estas 3 sesiones, a todos los ponentes y conferenciantes agradecer también su disponibilidad. Desde el primer momento todos estaban a disposición para poder hacer esta actividad, y ya solamente quedaría empezar con un minuto de retraso la conferencia de Markus y de Julia, a los que quiero agradecer también su disponibilidad, ya que en estos momentos desde todos los sitios los estamos llamando para que nos cuenten cosas. Como Markus y yo ya coincidimos en una ocasión, en varias ocasiones, y nos cuesta mucho trabajo entendernos porque él no habla español y yo no hablo inglés, quiero que sea Tomás el que haga, en este caso, de presentador de Markus y de Julia, para que sea la introducción al comienzo de este Día GeoGebra. Decir que casi es preferible que no haya traducción, aunque si Tomás quiere que lo puede haciendo, y al final, si hay preguntas, ahí sí podría hacer la traducción, y lo dejamos que sea todo de corrido en la intervención de Markus y de Julia. Entonces sí pediría que los demás podamos apagar las cámaras y los micrófonos y dejemos solo, en este caso, a Markus, a Julia y a Tomás.
So, muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. So, Markus, Julia, it is my pleasure to introduce you after this small speech session of introduction. So essentially, we have around 75 participants right now. There are also many others through Facebook, and the participants are from many different countries in Europe and in South America. And they have asked me some sense to say hello to you and to let you start this conference in English. I will not do the translation because they consider it is not necessary. I will not do a translation, but at the end, during the question period, if anyone needs to ask a question, or if you want me to translate the response, I am ready to do so. So please, Markus, Julia, whenever you want, please go ahead and give us some information, some news about GeoGebra.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Very good to be here. Can you hear me well? Yes, Julia is sharing her screen. Very good. So let me say hello to everybody. Thank you so much for inviting us. I see many familiar names on the list of the participants, so I feel like meeting a lot of good old friends. Too bad that we cannot do this in real life. Definitely hope that we can do that soon. But before we start, let me quickly introduce you also to Julia from my team, from the GeoGebra community team. So she's working with me in Linz and is also sitting at home in a home office, as many of us are right now. Julia, please say a few words about yourself.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here and present together with Markus today some news about GeoGebra. So I'm working since 2 years at GeoGebra, and I really love this work, and I always love to work with the community. And so I'm very happy to be here and to also get in contact with the Spanish community.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So today what we would like to do, we would like to show you 2 new features or platforms coming from the GeoGebra world. The first one is going to be GeoGebra Classroom, and the second one will be GeoGebra Notes. And of course, we will do this with this perspective of online learning, remote learning, distance learning that we currently have. And if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to write them into the chat. And of course, Thomas will be so nice to help us translate questions. So feel free to ask questions in Spanish, of course.
Excuse me, not only Spanish, also Portuguese.
Portuguese. Thomas knows everything. All the languages possible: Chinese, Portuguese, Spanish, whatever, no problem.
No, I mean that your audience is not only Spanish speaking,
yes,
but also Portuguese speaking.
I understand, of course. And actually, I've also seen Diego, one of our former PhD students from Brazil. So hello to everybody listening and watching both in Europe and Latin America. So glad to be here. Okay, Julia, what are we starting with? GeoGebra Classroom.
Yes, we start with Classroom. So may you want to say about a few words what it is? And yeah.
Sure. So before we are going to do a demo, so we're going to try it out together in a minute with Julia as our teacher. But before we do that, Julia, I hear a strange noise. Do you hear me well? Is the audio fine?
Now it's better. Now it's fine. It's okay again.
Good. So what is GeoGebra Classroom? So the background of GeoGebra Classroom was actually before the pandemic situation came. So we started development last year, and it was really intended to be for classroom discussions. So in the classroom, when you as a teacher would like to see what your students are doing when they're working with GeoGebra activities, this was the idea, that we wanted to have a quick way to collect all the work from students, so I have an overview. And now, of course, in a distance learning situation, when the students are not in the same room with me, that's also very useful. So we found that to be very useful, and that's why we would like to show it to you today. And I think the best way of doing that is really to try out an activity so that it don't do too much talking. Yeah. Julia, please.
Yeah. So, now we will do a demo. So now you can see 2 screens here. On the one side, I think there's someone not muted. There's some noise in the background. Now it's better. Yeah.
Alejandro forgot to mute himself. Okay, let's continue.
Okay. So you will see here 2 screens. So on the left side, you will see the teacher perspective, and then on the right side, you will also see the student's view. To use GeoGebra Classroom, you first need to find an activity that can be used in GeoGebra Classroom. So it's important to know which elements this activity needs to have. So we have different elements in activities, and for example, you have the possibility to insert Geogebra Applets or Geogebra apps. So when an activity has such an app in it, then you can create a class, because in this app, students can do something. There is a student input. Then we also have two question types. We have open questions and also multiple choice questions. So these three elements will turn into task elements as soon as I create a class. So an activity needs to have at least one of these three objects, so that here on top this button appears. So when you want to create a class, you can here click on the button and then you can enter a name for the class. After you entered the name, you will come to the class overview page, and now you need some students in your class. So we invite you all to join this class, and I will immediately show you how to do this. So you have two possibilities. One possibility is that you copy this link and send the link to your students. Then they only have to click on the link. Another possibility would be that the students go to this link, which also can be found on our website. So here in the students view, when the student goes to the menu on the website and chooses classroom, he and she comes to this page, so they can enter this code to this page. So I will show you this, how it works, and I invite you all to do the same so that you also come to our class. When you enter the class as a student, you have two possibilities. You can just use a username and log in, or you can log in with your GeoGebra profile. So when you want to log in with your GeoGebra profile, you just have to enter here your login data. And the benefit of using your profile is that the class will be saved for you as a student. So when you don't log in and just use a username, the class is not saved. When you log in, the class is saved in your profile. For the teacher, it doesn't matter. It will be saved in both cases.
Julia,
so on the yeah.
Sorry, have we already shared the direct link to
oh
class?
No, I will share the link in the chat.
And one possibility is to do what's written on here, that you go to geogebra.org/classroom and then you type in the code there. But the other possibility, especially now in the distance learning situation, we usually have some system like Zoom here. So we have a chat. So you can just take this from the top. How did you copy it again? Can you show that?
Mm-hmm. You just need to click here and the link is copied. Yeah.
Or you could also, I think you could also go to the top. There is this button that shows the code.
Yeah, you can also use this button, and then you can click here to copy the link. So you have two possibilities.
And now,
but I can't access the chat. Markus, maybe you can send it in the chat. For me, it doesn't work.
Oh, yes, I can do that.
Okay, thanks.
So I sent it in the chat now. I hope that everybody can see that. So if you just click on it, then you don't have to type the code. So that's for the lazy students like me. Just click on it.
So now you can see here we get some students in the class, and also some students are still entering. And on this page, so that's the student overview page, we have an overview of all our students, and we also see how many tasks have they already started. So I can see that Markus already started task 1. And when he goes forward to task 2, I will also see that he is working on another task. So you can always get a preview on which tasks the students are currently working, and you can also see which answers do they have. For example, when we have an open question, you can see what they are typing. When they're working in an applet, you can see their constructions, or when they are working on the multiple choice questions, you can see the answers which they choose. So there you have a great overview of all your students. So you can also see if a student hasn't started working yet. You can also hide the names of the students. So when you want to show something and you don't want that the students see the name of the others, for example, when you do screen sharing, you also have the option to hide the names. So that's the student overview. But we also have some overviews for the single tasks. So in this activity, we have 3 tasks. So we have a task overview page. In this overview page, we also see how many people already started a task. And we can also click on the single tasks to have a closer look at it. So for example, now we can see here all the answers from task 1. And these images are changing in real time. So if someone is moving the plane or is changing the color, we can see it in real time. And for the students, you can see here the perspective. There's this headline task 1 and the applet. So when you change something here, you will see here also the changes. Then for task 2 was an open question. So we also can see here all the answers from the different students, and these also changes in real time. And for task 3, we had a multiple choice question. So here we get a nice diagram with all the answers from the students. And we can also have a look who chose which answer. And we could also have a look which is the right answer. Therefore, maybe I'll also introduce another nice tool, because it's also possible to pause the class. So when I click pause the class, you can't continue.
I cannot
working.
change any longer. That's unfair.
Yeah. So you can also see here the student's view. I'm not able to do something as a student. And now I can show the right answers. So when I pause the class, I'm sure that not all the students who choose the wrong answer just jump to the right answer just to be correct. So that's maybe a nice feature that you can use in this case. Also, when you want to have the attention of the students, when you don't want that they continue working, you can use this pause feature anytime, and then you can also continue the class. So now everyone can change their answers again and continue working on this activity. Yes, another possibility is to add a co-teacher. Maybe you are teaching not alone and you have some colleagues that also want to see the answers of the students. So you're also able to add here a co-teacher. You just have to enter their email address or the profile name from GeoGebra. So they also need a GeoGebra profile, and then they can be added as a co-teacher.
So maybe just to say that again at this moment. So what's important as a teacher, you have to be logged in, of course, like Julia had to log in before she could create the class, because she's initiating it. And also if another teacher, like the co-teacher, wants to join her and see the same teacher dashboard, then the other teacher also needs to log in, of course. But the students, so all of you who are participating, you do not have to log in. And that was really important for us to make it easy so that you can just share this link that we posted on the chat with your students, and then they can start without needing a login. The benefit of having the login, again, as Julia already mentioned, for the students is that their work, they can come back later. So the work of the students is always saved, of course, but just for the teacher. But if the students also log in themselves, then they can come back and see their work. Maybe, Julia, you could show us where, as a teacher, I can see that. So when somehow, I don't know, I go out of this, how do I come back to my class?
When I go out of my class, I can go to my profile, and there I will find the class. So here I have a...
no,
yeah,
it wasn't updating for us, but now we can see.
Okay. So I'm going to my profile on the website, and then I can find here the class. And I just click on the class, and then I'm in the class again. And I can continue working. So I can see here all the work of the students is saved, and yeah, I can also have a look at the answers later.
Yeah,
maybe
and the same
another
is
nice
true for
yeah.
Sorry.
The students can also find the class in their profile when they were looking. Maybe a nice tip when you have used GeoGebra Classroom and you have lots of classes, you also can create folders to organize your classes. So I can create a folder maybe with the name of my student class or geometry course or something like that. And I can create a folder, and then I can just drag and drop the resources in my folder. So I can organize my classes when I have lots of classes, or when I do the same activity with different students group, I have a nice overview.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you can always go back to that. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
So maybe one thing to mention in terms of how we think that this could be useful. So as we've just seen here, it is especially useful when you do this live kind of teaching in a synchronous session like now. Teacher and students are all working on it together, because you can see the live updates on this, what was it, the task 1, where you see how we were moving around things and adding new elements. So you can always see what the students are doing in real time. And we think that's particularly useful. But GeoGebra Classroom could also be used for homework. So you could also just give out the link to your students, and they have to do it until tomorrow or until next week. And you can go back and see what they have done, and then later on present it to the class and discuss it another time. So there are these two possibilities. Of course, the real-time situation is only, you can only take advantage of this if you do it together with some kind of video conferencing system like Zoom in this case, or Big Blue Button, Microsoft Teams, or whatever you are having. Yes. Okay, Julia, what else do we want to show about Classroom?
That was all that we wanted to show about Classroom. So the next point would be GeoGebra Notes.
So maybe, Thomas, we could already allow questions now. So we would be happy to do that about Classroom. Before
yes, I have already one question from Camilo Sua. This question was written in the chat, and he asked whether it is possible for GeoGebra Classroom to do some kind of cooperative work. So I understand that it means it's asking whether it is possible for students and the teacher, or maybe for students between themselves, to cooperate directly in doing some of these tasks with GeoGebra Classroom. This is the question we have.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. At the moment, the answer is no. At the moment, there is no multi-user possibility. So it's individual students, everybody has their own copy, everybody works for themselves. But we are actively working on this. So this is something that we also think is very important, and we would love to add very soon. So this kind of collaborative work, I think would work very well with Classroom. And our idea is to enable group work, so that groups of students, like 2, 3, 4 students, can be working together on one activity.
Okay.
And actually, yeah, so we are planning, we're working on this, and we hope that we can bring this out very soon.
So, Camilo, voy a contestarte con lo que me han dicho. Tu pregunta es muy interesante. Efectivamente, ellos están trabajando en conseguir que se pueda hacer un trabajo colaborativo, pero en este momento eso no es aún posible. De todas formas, están trabajando en ello y es una de las cosas que dan a continuación. So, Camilo is saying thank you. So that's good news. Then there is another question. The next question is from Ángel Gutiérrez, and is asking whether if a small screen in the computer for students, they can refresh in real time, why it is not also the case when the window is a little bit bigger? Why only for small screenshots and not for the big ones?
Okay, I think I know what you mean. I think, Julia, he means that when you click on one of the tiles, it opens in the bigger view, but this one is not synchronized in real time.
Okay.
At the moment, I mean, so we could do that. The question is a little bit what you want.
Excuse me, Angel Gutierrez is saying yes, that's exactly what you are saying.
Yeah.
This is the question.
So maybe Julia, can you go back to your classroom so that everybody knows what we are talking about? The screen looks strange to me for some reason. At least I only see part of it.
Because I already started my iPad connecting, that's the reason.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, so the computer is overwhelmed.
But I think the screen is a bit smaller, but can you already see what you want to see?
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yeah. So if you click on any of these sites, so there are the student names, and if you click on one of the students, that's what the question was about. Yeah. So here, why don't we show the student updates here in real time? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, here the idea was that the teacher would only open this when she wants to show it, like here in the screen sharing, to everybody in the classroom. And at this moment, we thought that we don't want the student to be still able to change that, because now it's the teacher who has control. So when a teacher is moving things around, this is not connected with the students in this moment.
Okay.
But
So
maybe we'll change it in the future. So we're not sure.
So it's a kind of security control.
Yeah, exactly. So that the student cannot.
La respuesta, Ángel, es que ellos, eso lo hace el profesor cuando quiere mostrarlo a toda la clase, y en ese momento no parece conveniente o adecuado que el alumno tenga todavía la capacidad de hacer una manipulación. No sé si Ángel está bien respondido. Ajá, he says, gracias. He says, thank you.
Yeah, and we will think about that. Maybe we will change that.
Yeah, another question is a question also from the point of view of discipline, classroom discipline. So it's asking whether it is possible to take one student off the classroom. Suppose he behaves wrongly. A question from Bernat. I don't know if it's Bernat Anquechea, but it's a question from Bernat. Can you take one student out of a classroom?
Not at the moment, but this has already, I think we're working on this, and I think it will be released very soon. So yes, this can happen, that you have a misbehaving student that you want to kick out for some reason. And yes, we will allow this soon. So on this screen that we see here, there will be a way that an individual student you can just remove.
Yes, in these days of pandemic, sometimes there is somebody in the classroom that it is not really the one you are expecting in the classroom. So, the answer is not at the moment, Bernard. La respuesta es no en este momento, pero están pensando en ello también. So, I don't see any further questions, so maybe you can continue with the notes. There is another question from Pina. She's saying, when could we include grades in the grade, in some sense, the activity of the students? When
Tomás,
this will be possible?
Tomás, en preguntas y respuestas tiene otra pregunta.
En el chat.
No, en otra opción que hay al final, preguntas y respuestas.
Entiendo, sí, gracias.
Oye, Thaís.
So, la cuestión is
uma vez por ano tem que limpar, né?
So the question from Pina is, when could we introduce grades in the activities of the students through GeoGebra Classroom?
So this, was it main grades or GeoGebra notes?
It has a twofold meaning.
Yeah, exactly.
One possibility, not as in Spanish, is grades.
Okay.
They can think, well, this student has done very well and we are grading him with an A. Or it can be also, when will classroom notes and classroom...
Okay, yes, I understand. It's two questions. So for the first question, for the grades, we don't have that yet. But we have a project with the university here in Austria. So I'm working at Johannes Kepler University in Linz also, and we have a project to further develop Classroom into a testing environment.
Yes.
where assessment and giving grades and also giving automatic feedback to students should be included. Because right now that's not the case. Only for the multiple choice questions, like we've seen from Julia, you can show the correct answer, but not for the others. And there's also no way for the teacher to say this was correct or not. But it's something that we will include in the future, but that's a little bit more longer term future.
Okay. And about the other interpretation?
And the other interpretation, that's already done.
Okay.
So that is already possible, but we have not officially announced it, but that will very soon be officially announced.
Así que para la interpretación de la integración entre notas y Classroom, eso está hecho ya, pero aún no se ha hecho el anuncio oficial. Así que es una muy buena pregunta y muy buena respuesta. So there is another question that says, I am using GeoGebra Classroom with my students, and sometimes when the students do some task and they come back again, they find out that the task has disappeared and they had to start again. So what is the answer for this situation?
So I think,
this
of course, so of course so we try to do everything that this is not happening, that students lose their work. So we don't want that, of course. It could be a problem with the system, but it could also be that when students leave the browser, if they close the browser accidentally, and they come back, then they have to restart because they were not logged in. So the best way to avoid this is if the students sign in when they join the class, that they use the option to sign in, because then everything will be saved to their account. So when they come back later, they can continue where they left.
Yeah. So, la respuesta es que si el alumno no se ha inscrito, si el alumno está trabajando sin inscribirse, sin firmar, sin registrarse, como se dice también, entonces evidentemente si cierra el navegador va a perder la construcción, pero tiene la posibilidad de registrarse, de inscribirse, y entonces puede volver a entrar y mantener la construcción que ha hecho. Esa pregunta era de Bernat y yo creo que esa es la respuesta. También pregunta, Bernat is asking also whether the student could modify the activity when the classroom has already started, and I think the answer is the same. If the student signs in, then he can keep what he has done. Así que la respuesta es exactamente la misma, que puede, si el alumno se ha registrado, entonces, digamos, mantiene la actividad que ha hecho y la puede modificar o ampliar. No sé si es correcto, Bernat, ¿está claro? Creo que sí, no hay ninguna cuestión. So there is another question from Paco Ortiz. So the question is, are the students allowed to see the screen and the work of the other colleagues and also the work of the teacher? Can they take a look at what the other students are doing? What the teacher is doing?
No, not at the moment. The only way for this to happen is if the teacher shares the screen, like what Julia was doing. But they cannot directly see what the others are doing. Students can only see their worksheet. However, there was this question in the beginning about multiple students working together, like group work. So with the group work feature, we are also thinking about making it possible that one group can see the work of other groups, so that they can kind of look at what the others are doing. Probably, so this is not possible at the moment, but we want to allow this in the future, yes.
Sí, dice que en estos momentos los estudiantes no pueden ver lo que hacen los demás ni el profesor hasta que el profesor lo muestra a toda la clase, pero que están pensando en permitir que determinados grupos de alumnos puedan ver lo que trabajan otros grupos. Así que están en ello, es una idea en la que están trabajando, pero no es correcta ahora mismo. Hay otra cuestión de Bernat. There is another question from Bernat. Is asking whether the teacher could change the activity in the middle of the class. So he's teaching and at some moment he wants to change some aspects of the activity. Is that possible?
Yes, this is possible. So when the teacher changes something, for example, there's a mistake in some text and wants to change it, then the teacher can do that. You can also add additional questions. So you can do that, yes.
Así que la respuesta, Bernat, es que efectivamente el profesor puede hacerlo, puede incluso introducir otras cuestiones adicionales en mitad de una clase. There is another question from José María Chacón that says, can the student modify the construction of one of the students? Can the teacher modify the construction that is doing one of the students while he's working on this construction?
No, not at the moment.
No en este momento, José María.
This is also something where we're thinking, so with multi-user that would be possible. The question is whether we want to allow this. But the idea right now is that, yes, the teacher will also be able to interfere with the student work. So when students work together in a group, also the teacher can go there to the group and make changes to what the students are doing.
Okay, so one of the questions is, one of the comments says that some questions, they cannot see some questions. All the questions are on the chat, and on the answer and questions menu, there is only one question by Maria Fernanda that I have already translate, and there is also a Zoom, a link from Pina, but I think all the questions have been already translated, and I think that we should maybe continue with the with your
notes, yeah, and we can have more questions.
Also, if there is other further questions, there is a question and answer lot that we can keep with that. Okay.
Yeah. Good. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you so much. Okay, Julia, then let's continue. So we now would also like to talk a little bit about notes, which is actually connected in many ways with Classroom. And we will talk about this later. But first, let's find out what GeoGebra Notes actually is, Julia.
Oops. Yeah, let's start a demo. So you can see here now the screen of my tablet. So you can use GeoGebra Notes as well on tablets as on computers.
Julia, sorry to interrupt. I don't know how it is for the others, but for me it looks very strange. I just see this in a little part of the screen sharing, and most of it is white. Could you maybe just start the screen sharing?
I can show it on the web otherwise, yeah.
Or maybe you just turn off screen sharing and start it again.
Yep.
Maybe let's try that so that we have a real refresh of something messed up. Yeah, now it's perfect.
Okay.
Yes, very good. So we can see your iPad now, don't we?
Yeah, that should be the case. Perfect. Okay, so now you can see the first tab of GeoGebra Notes. So GeoGebra Notes is a whiteboard software, so you can use lots of different tools. On the first tab, you can use lots of tools for writing. For example, you can write here. You can also use the eraser and change the sizes. You can also change the sizes of your pen. So, of course, here it's easier when you're writing on a tablet with a pen, but it's also possible to use it on the computer. Then you can also change that afterwards. So I can also do some changes afterwards, like changing the color or changing the thickness of the line. So here you can find everything what you need for writing. Then on the second tab, you can find lots of features, different features. So you can also change the design of them and the filling. So you have lots of different possibilities for the different features. Then on the search tab, you can find lots of cool stuff. So you can find something to enter texts or tables. You can also enter equations, or you can also use the whole GeoGebra graphing calculator or the CAS calculator. So now I'm making a new page that you that I have more space. So you can see you can also add different pages to your notes file. And there I want to insert the graphing calculator. So now I can change the size a bit. And I can now use the full power of the graphing calculator here in my notes file. So I can write functions. For example, I'm entering a linear function. And you can see here, now I can find here my function and also have sliders. So you have the whole power of the graphing calculator here in this notes file. But you can also add lots of other stuff. For example, you can add videos. When you want to add a video, you just have to copy a link here. So for example, from a YouTube video, I prepared here a link just for showing you. So I can insert here the link, and then I will have here in my notes file this video. So I can play this video. I can also stop or move forward. So I have all the functions like when I watched the video on YouTube, but without leaving this notes file. Yeah, there are lots of other possibilities in notes. So you can also add web elements. For example, you can enter here an address. And then you have here the whole GeoGebra website. And you can also, it's not only a picture of the website, you can use all the functions of the website. So you can move through the website. You can click on different activities like this nice resource collection and explore lots of stuff. Of course, you can do this with every website. Another nice feature with the web element is also to include Geogebra Applets. So when you find a nice applet on the Geogebra page, for example, like this one, you can also use the web element and insert the link of the applet here. And then it won't insert the whole activity. So, and you only have the applet here. So you have a nice applet here to practicing linear functions. And you also have all the possibilities like a new line, or the auto-checking possibility of this applet is also included. Yeah, as you can see here, there are lots of other different possibilities. You can add images or take an image with the camera when you're using a tablet, or add audio files or PDFs. So there are lots of different ways how to use GeoGebra notes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Julia. Was there anything else that you wanted to show?
No, that was all. Just a quick insight.
So yeah, thank you for that. So GeoGebra notes, as you can see, so why have we created this? Originally, it was intended to be a tool for interactive whiteboards only. So that if you are like standing in front of a smart board or an interactive TV with a touch surface, that you can write with a pen or with your finger in front of the classroom, like a real classroom. That was the original idea. But we have now seen that it's also particularly useful when it's used in the distance learning environment, where students themselves may also have some kind of pen device. So like in this case, Julia has an iPad with a pen, and so she can write on this like on digital paper. I know not everybody has that, but this kind of technology is now getting more and more widespread. And so we see this now also as an interesting way, not just for teachers to teach and basically to show what they're writing on the board, but also for students to document their work. Because in mathematics, many times it is difficult to write mathematical notation. Julia, did you show the equation editor? Maybe I did not pay attention there.
No, I only mentioned it, but I can show it.
Could you maybe quickly show that? So
yeah,
yes,
sure.
we have included an equation editor. So essentially what we've done is we've taken the equation editor out of the GeoGebra calculator apps and made it an individual separate component. So you see that the keyboard at the bottom looks very similar, but you can now include it here, so you can write equations. But of course, still, it's a lot of work to type equations in such a way, and you're somewhat limited. So many times it is much quicker and easier if you can just write with your hand, with a pen. So I think also the example earlier where Julia was like putting a GeoGebra app in here, and then you can write on the side with your hand. I think that's like a good example of how GeoGebra notes could be used so that students have a way to document their work. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to answer some questions? Is that okay?
Yes, of course. We're welcome.
Okay, so this is one question. Vamos a hacer preguntas. Entonces, ya ha terminado la exposición. Vamos a hacer preguntas. Yo tengo una pregunta aquí ya preparada de Paola Rodríguez. So I have a question from Paola Rodríguez about GeoGebra notes, that she says that when she writes with GeoGebra notes with a pen, then it disappears. What's the reason for that?
Do you understand?
I think, yeah, I think she means the icon of the pen. So I don't know if you can see it here when I'm writing. So I think you can see here now my pencil, and when I'm writing, this pencil is disappearing. I think that's someone we already spoke in our team, and that we will change that so that the pencil is visible all the time.
Okay. La respuesta es que si es exactamente lo que estamos viendo, que después de escribir desaparece el lapicero, están en ello, están intentando cambiar eso para que se vea el lapicero todo el tiempo. I have one question from the classroom, from GeoGebra classroom, a question from Mariano Romero, is asking whether it is possible to assign some time to start and some time to end some activity.
So we don't have timing at the moment. We have what Julia showed with the pause button, so that you as a teacher, you can click the pause button at any time. But we are not planning on timing at the moment. So that's a new idea. But we are planning on pacing. So pacing means that you don't give, if there are like 5 activities, you don't give all the 5 activities immediately to the students, but you as a teacher can essentially show and hide parts of it. So you say, I only give you task 1, task 2 now, you work on this, and I wait until everybody's finished, and only later I give you the other tasks.
Ok, so Mariano, la respuesta es que esa idea de controlar el tiempo de la actividad no la tienen, pero sí es posible que las actividades vayan pues controladas, ahora una, después otra, ahora estas 2, después otras 2, es decir, se pueden introducir las actividades pautadamente, pero no está previsto que haya un control de la hora de empiece y de la hora de final. So I think I understand the question. There is another question about GeoGebra notes by Sumaya Jaimes Reategui. It says in GeoGebra notes, can you include 3D graphics?
Yes.
This is the first question. The second question by Sumaya is, can the students work cooperative, they can work together? Same question as before, but for GeoGebra notes.
So maybe for the first question again, so with 3D, there is no, I don't know, Julia, if you still have do you still have notes open? So just that I explain why I said yes. At the bottom, you don't see GeoGebra 3D here in these icons. So in this case, sense, it's a no, so it's not there. So 2 things. Probably we will replace what is here, this graphic calculator, and replace it with GeoGebra Suite in the future, so that all of the apps can be embedded here. So then you also have 3D. So I think this will be, and the second thing is you can work around it at the moment with the web elements that Julia was showing. So you could just take the 3D app. Maybe you can show that, Julia. Can you quickly do that?
La respuesta por ahora parcial es que en estos momentos no es posible, van a cambiar el icono de graficación por un icono 3D más amplio en un futuro, pero hay otra posibilidad que es usar la web, y ahora lo van a explicar. So now you are explaining how to use the web with GeoGebra notes, isn't it?
Yes, but how you can work around this? Because she just used the web element and inserted the GeoGebra.org/3D app, and then you also have the 3D app in Notes, because you can include every web page and you can also do it with the 3D app.
Así que como puedes meter aspectos de la web 3D dentro de la GeoGebra Notes, pues es una forma indirecta de poder resolver este problema que plantea Sumaya. So, thank you so much.
And the second question, Thomas, was about the multi-user. So that's
well, it's a little bit the same question as before with GeoGebra Classroom.
Yeah,
can
exactly.
the students work cooperative? Can they work in groups together?
So that's a very good question. And this is exactly our idea, what we want to do first as a first step for GeoGebra Classroom. We will make GeoGebra Notes multi-user ready, meaning that there are different groups of students, and each group has their own GeoGebra Notes file, because this gives us most flexibility. So a group of students will be working on a GeoGebra Notes file.
Okay, so but this is not done yet. It is for the future.
It's not done yet, but we are in the middle of development, so we hope that we will have something ready early next year.
Okay, so Sumaya, la respuesta es que están justamente trabajando en eso, en posibilitar que haya grupos de alumnos que tengan el mismo fichero de GeoGebra Notes para que puedan trabajar conjuntamente. Let me see if there is another question. Another question? No, there is not a question here. Let me see. No, there are no further questions. I just have one. No. Yes, there is one by Pina. It's asking about the app for Apple and the app for Android.
For Notes?
I guess so.
Yeah. So at the moment, we don't have apps for them, but this is something that we would also like to do. I think it's useful because then it is full screen. Yes, so we want to do that.
Así que la respuesta es que sí, que están en ello y que lo están intentando desarrollar. Pina says thanks. You will see in the chat that he's saying thanks. I have one remark. In the presentation by Julia, I observed that some parts of the GeoGebra Notes were translated, some were in English, some were in Spanish. Is that correct? There was something. No,
possible.
This is all in Spanish. There was something at the bottom that said, yes, graspable math to the right. Can you see?
I think it won't be translated because it's the name of the app.
Okay. Okay. So graspable math means, I think, something like a math that you can capture, you can grasp with your. So we need to do some translation. So this is only so
that's also a math app where you can.
Yeah, I understand. But this is so. I saw some aspects were still needing translation. There is also a question by Osvaldo Rodriguez that says, "Can we say that GeoGebra Notes it behaves like a whiteboard?"
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's a whiteboard software. Yes, but it is especially good for mathematics teaching because you can embed GeoGebra apps and the content is saved. So when you can also embed GeoGebra Applets in other whiteboard softwares, but the problem there is that it's not saving what you're doing inside of GeoGebra. But here the state is saved. So when you add, I don't know, Julia, where did you have that on one of the other slides where you added the graphing calculator or something? Maybe.
Osvaldo está diciendo que efectivamente GeoGebra Note es como una pantalla de estas, una pantalla blanca de estas, pero lo que dice es que la diferencia es que tú puedes meter aplicaciones de GeoGebra dentro y puedes guardar todo lo que haces, mientras que si lo haces en un whiteboard normal, no estás guardando lo que estás haciendo dentro de GeoGebra. Y ahora va a mostrar Julia. Can you show how this works?
So everything what I'm doing here is saved. So as you see, I have inserted here an empty applet. Then I created this linear function with the sliders. And when I will save that and then open it again, it will be saved exactly in the position I left this window. So also when I send the link to you, you will find this linear function.
So, así que efectivamente queda todo guardado exactamente como lo haces con GeoGebra, aunque lo hagas en la pantalla electrónica. So I don't see any further question. So I think it is maybe time for Agustín to say thanks to you.
Bueno, si no hay más preguntas, de todas formas, creo que podemos finalizar aquí la intervención, la participación de Markus y de Julia. Agradecer a Markus y a Julia, como decía al principio, su disposición para estar siempre a responder siempre a las peticiones que le hacemos. Y a ti, Tomás, pues como igual, agradecerte que siempre estás colaborando y participando en todas las actividades que desde la Federación te pedimos. Muchas gracias a todos y continuamos con las siguientes paneles que estaban programados para el primer día de GeoGebra.
Thank you so much, Agustín.
Thank you, Markus.